Okay. So I switched the project back over to Claude, um, and had it look into the crashing issue, and it has made some changes to the project that have, at this point, fixed the issue with crashing. So you can see we're rendering geometry and not crashing. And when we load up, we've got our UI in there. One of the things that we're having here that is affecting the rendering when we're actually in the game is the auto exposure settings. So first thing I want to do is just go ahead and go into project settings and shut that off. So we're just going to shut off auto exposure so that we don't have to deal with that. I mean, we get this in the editor. I've got it set to unlit, so we'll be able to kind of deal with that fine. And here it'll just kind of, it is what it is. But we'll deal with lighting, how this gets lit. As we're building it within the editor, we'll deal with that as we kind of go. And we'll get this so that when we're in editor, probably with our editor game mode, will overwrite and just kind of make this also kind of an unlit thing or something, or adjust the kind of like ambient light so that it's not so dark and kind of hard to see what's going on. All right, but our next step is we need to we need to be able to set up these buttons, new map, load map, save map, and then we'll have to start kind of implementing a system to be able to kind of move around, be able to view the map from whatever angle we want, kind of like, within the editor itself, being able to kind of zoom around, zoom in, zoom out, toggle on or off rendering of the ceilings so that we can kind of see the layout, and start kind of filling out some of the details of each cell in kind of the right here. So we have switching over to Claude, and I don't have Claude up. So let's pull Claude up. Right. So this is where we were troubleshooting the crashes. I did not end up recording that, but it basically just went through and kind of set up, changed how things are being set up within the rendering. There was apparently some sort of issue with kind of ray tracing being on. We're shutting off ray tracing and just kind of making the rendering of it, disabling some advanced rendering features and whatnot. And that seems to have kind of, at this point, fixed the crash. And then as we get further along in the development, we can make adjustments to that as we need. But let's start a new chat on this. And kind of start seeing what Claude thinks as far as implementing that new load and save buttons. Okay, let's see. So we are pulling out the game. We have a UI. It's a new level, save button. We need to create the functionality to implement each of those. Levels are currently stored in a data asset object. So what do we need to do to start getting that all functioning? Let's see what Claude has to say. Well, we already. All right, hold on. No. Claude. Hold on. Okay, we already have these kinds of things implemented. Please read the source files to get understanding of the current state of things, and what needs to be changed or added to implement the features we want. Okay. There we go. Yeah, it seems like in maybe a recent update, Claude doesn't default just make use of the MCP server, especially when starting a new chat. At least it seems like that's what I kind of noticed in the last couple of recent things. So I'll have to remember to tell it to go ahead and use that stuff, and start, so that it'll do those things. But one of the changes that they made between when I jumped back to Claude to using this from when I was using it before, is now when it uses one of the MCP services, it's now when you tell it, yes, you can use this, you can now tell it, yes, you're always allowed to use this. So previously, like every time it would want to list a directory or read a file or, write a file or whatever, the things that it can do, every chat, every conversation, I would have to approve it doing that. Now I just have to approve it the first time it does it, and I can just tell it, yeah, no, you're always good to use this. So that's really helped with just using Claude and making use of the MCP servers. So yeah, so now it's jumping in, making edits to the files. That's another kind of nice thing between what we were doing previously with Gemini and with Claude. Since Claude does have the app here, and I can set up the MCP server, it can just write the files for me, so I don't, reduction in copy paste time, all of that. It can just go in, edit the files, and then I can just jump in, compile it up, test it out, and see, what am I looking to do next. So we'll let this run, and then it should give us a nice summary of changes and whatnot that it made at the end of this. So it looks like, okay, so adding a warning dialogue function that can be used when creating a new level to warn about unsaved changes. Cool. Right. Continue. So I also jumped just while we're waiting. I jumped to another project I've got going on. I was working on last week. One of the reasons that there's been a time between the last episode of this and this one here. So working on updating old project I did with I did for somebody a few years back. It's a um, essentially kind of like a play by email game. It's I think it's based off of an old play by email game, but the game is Elydium Wars, and so it's web based essentially. But the web interface is just where you go, you can put in your instructions for um, your turn, see outcome from the last turn and all that, and then turns are processed once a day at like I don't know, something like 3 a.m. or 2 a.m. or something like that, um, every day. And and then you get an email with uh summaries of each turn, all that stuff each day. But the guy I worked on that with wants to get it updated, wants to get like an AI player in there, the ability to not necessarily have to have a full suite of players to be able to run a game, and all of that. And so that was an application. The back end is Spring Boot. Um, so back end's all Java. Using Spring. Front end was Angular, and so but this was written a few years back, so all of the versions of everything it was using was outdated. So spent a lot of last week getting all of that code base updated to the latest versions of Angular, the latest versions of Spring Boot, um, which then also required updating the version of Java that it was using in all of that jazz. So yeah, I don't know if I'll maybe create some videos on kind of that. Maybe if folks might find it interesting, I can talk about kind of what we're doing on that. Next change I'm going to be working on as far as iWars is one of the things is so originally like all the game logic and all that stuff was written by another developer. I did all the front end development um, and the management of getting the data about the game and whatnot out of from the back end to the front end and all of that. But that original back end, all of the data around like the game and the turns and all that stuff are just saved in text files on the server, and I want to move all of that to be database driven. Like all the player information and the, management of things from the front end, like the game rules and the, updates and all that jazz. All that's already in a database. So the back end, has everything set up to be a database, but the other developer that was implementing all the game rules and stuff for whatever reason didn't want to use a database, just wanted to, it was easiest for him to just kind of read and write things from files on the hard drive. So I'm going to update the application to move all of those to the database and just manage all of that data in there. So yeah, that might slow down some of the work I'm doing on Whispering Vale, but that's fine. And we'll see about getting the iWars kicked back up. And kind of see where that goes. Yeah, as you can probably see here, Claude is generally way more, I guess, thorough is a word for it, in the changes it makes. Sometimes overly thorough, going off into things that maybe you didn't necessarily want or whatnot. So that's something you have to kind of watch with Claude when you're using it. And, invariably within the project, the kind of, rules of the project and whatnot will grow over time as we need to kind of rein in Claude and its extraneous changes. All right, but it's done with its implementation, so let's see what it did. So we have a new level button. So we implemented a create new level that checks for unsaved changes, implemented a create new level internal that creates a new map data asset, and added the confirmation dialog when unsaved changes exist. Save level button, implemented save level with dialog to open a file dialog, implemented save current level to save the map data asset to the chosen location. Flags are reset after successful save. And then load level, implemented the load level with dialog that checks for unsaved changes, implemented load level with dialog internal, implemented load level, added confirmation dialog, change tracking, implemented set has unsaved changes to track when the map is modified, added map modify changed, added cell modification functions that mark the map as changed. Okay. Then we have a show confirmation dialog method to notify the UI about needed confirmations, implemented confirmation dialog result to handle the user decisions. All right, so create a new widget blueprint, map editor, add buttons for new level, save level. Okay, we already have that. Connect their click events to the corresponding HUD functions. So get owning player, get HUD, create new level. Okay. Easy enough. New level, save level, load level, create confirmation dialog widget. So, okay, so we need to create a confirmation dialog with text blocks for title and message and yes and no buttons. In your main editor widget, set up event handlers for the show confirmation dialog event. In the main editor widget. Okay, in your confirmation dialog widget, when yes or no is clicked. Hold on, I gotta yell at a dog. 1 second. Okay. All right. And then in the confirmation widget, when yes or no is clicked, get owning player, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Sample blueprint flow for confirmation dialog. Find that, create on show confirmation dialog, custom event, implementing unsaved changes indicator. Additional UI elements, grid size controls. Yeah, I'm not worried about that too much. Test scenarios, potential enhancements. Cell selection, direct editing. Yeah, we'll get into that. Okay. All right. So first step is let's see if this actually builds or if it's full of compilation errors. We do have an issue. So map editor player controller can't open map data asset. Map editor player controller. Because map data asset is where data asset is inside map. And we're inside that. So we've got to go out one and then into map. See map data asset. Okay. Let's see if that takes care of it. Nope, we still have in map editor player controller. Oh, that's what I just, isn't that what I just changed? West Greenville editor, map editor player controller. Oh, CPP in the CPP file. Sorry. Yeah, we changed the header file, but not the CPP file. Well, but I shouldn't need it in the, because I'm pulling in the header file. I shouldn't need it, should I? What's desktop platform module? Yeah, desktop platform. My desktop platform. What even is that? Oh, looks like this file got jacked up. Because this ain't right. Okay. Create new level internal. Create new level internal. We define that in here, right? No, we don't. Okay. So it looks like Claude got a little bit confused. Member is inaccessible. And this iDesktop platform. I don't even know what the hell that is. Okay, let's get our errors here. And we'll take this one at a time and see what maybe Claude can do with it. Getting an issue. Desktop platform module is not included in your project. Oh, so it's probably just an update. Yeah, the build. Okay. That was something that needed to be added to the build. I have never seen that before. And I'm wondering if that's because from the data asset, being able to dynamically create the data assets and whatnot. Or we're using editor only functionality like file dialogues. Okay. Okay. Gotcha. All right, let's try again. Right, map editor player controller. We're still getting cannot open include file. But we got a lot of other things compiled, so let me double check the build. I don't see anything changed in the build CS file. Isn't that what it? What were you attempting to do here? Uobject save package.h. Save package.h. Okay, yeah, save package is there. I thought you were changing. Okay, so you've read the file. Oh, here's the. So core uobject engine input core enhanced input. If target.build editor and Unreal Ed desktop platform asset registry. Okay, so this is what it added. Got it. So Unreal ED desktop platform asset registry. Okay. We'll only do that if target is build editor. Which we are building the editor. Right, let's have it look through that again. Yeah, I'm almost wondering if it might just be simpler to not use assets for the maps and maybe switching back to like a JSON structure or something like that for the map data, but I don't know. We'll play around with it a little more. I'd like to understand a little better the use of the asset objects and how to programmatically deal with them. And then I'm going to verify if all of this is just for like the save and load dialogues things. Maybe we can just kind of bypass that right now. I'm not, it's just me. I'm not that interested in or worried about potentially, you know, not saving things or anything like that. We're, this is all very much, um, basic and simple at this point in time. Um, so if we're missing creature comforts and whatnot, we're not actually building any part that's going to be in the game at this point. We're not building real levels or anything like that at this point. So just making sure that the fundamentals are there is really what's the most important things. And so having, dialogues and undos, or, checking that, there's unsaved changes and all that stuff. There's things that we don't necessarily need right now. If we can, if this works and they're there, they're nice things to have for sure. But I don't want to end up, spending too much time trying to get those kinds of things to work if we can just not deal with them right now and just get the core functionality of, yeah, it loads, it saves, kinds of things. Yeah, I already have the UMG. Okay. All right. So let's jump back. See if now we build. Nope. Okay. Still not working. If this is just for dialogues, when saving in dialogues, is there a way we can just bypass those for now? There we go. Yeah, let's create a version that doesn't need desktop platform module. That sounds like the smarter way to go about it. Yeah, Claude likes to, and this isn't necessarily a bad thing. It certainly likes to be quite thorough in, its implementations, adding a lot of things that, uh, make what you're building a little more full featured. I tend to like to try and build complexity over time. Let's start super simple, super basic. Very just straightforward brute force, and then let's add the complexity. Let's add the nice to haves, or the what's the word I'm looking for? Let's add in, reusability or adaptability and stuff over time as we need that, because all of that just makes your code more complex, makes it more difficult to understand, to know kind of, what it's doing, all of that. So, but Claude likes to go pretty full featured. So that might be maybe a rule we give it. Update the project and give it a rule for that. We'll see. All right. So now we've got that. So let's jump back and see if now we build. Not quite. All right. So still have some issues with the map editor controller. Generate map visuals, can't access. Be confirmed. Not resolve symbol. Be confirmed. Oh, and there's where we're missing something. Seen a close brace there. I'm wondering if did we miss functionality in here? This is confirm dialogue result. Well, if we're not dealing with the dialogues, that won't matter. And so now we're dealing with generate map visuals is not accessible. And here's my breakpoints from when we were testing that. Because that is protected. Well, let's just drop it into, let's go ahead and just make that public. Save that and see if that just takes care of all of the issues we were having. And it did. All right. We build. Okay, so boom, that's reloaded. So now in here with our map manager, I can generate our map visuals, and we still generate. If I play, yep, we see it. We've got our stuff. Okay, so we've got the code there. So we should be able to start kind of implementing that. We'll call this an episode, and we'll pick up then with actually, now let's hook that stuff up and start seeing what we need to do to get that to work. So, like, comment, subscribe, let me know if you guys want to see, more detail, less detail, longer episodes, shorter episodes, whatever. What's going to be most useful for the folks kind of watching this to get kind of the most out of this, or, are things going good? Right. And so next time we'll start getting those buttons hooked up.